Invisible audience, this is Sadistic Skull Gaming bringing you episode 2 of the review podcast. This week's episode, Chivalry, Medieval Warfare.
We'll be talking about several aspects of Chivalry, Medieval Warfare, going from the classes to the two main factions, some game types, maybe some maps if we can get into it, and, you know, apparently there's an extensive lore about the game, but I don't know shit about it, so...
It's on the wiki. If you go on Wikipedia, you can see the lore, but in game, it's just like choose your faction: blue people or red people. Literally, that's all it is. It's just blue team versus red team. But instead of blue and red, they just call them like Mason Order and
Agatha Knights.
I was gonna say Argon, but
no, that is a map though. Argon's Wall, because in the lore, the king is called King Argon. See, it all ties together. Factions, maps.
So is it just Hadrian's Wall, but an element from the periodic table? Because that sounds like Hadrian's Wall. Anyway, that's a history podcast. First thing on the checklist today is the presentation. So, Cohen, how would you say the presentation of this game goes?
Okay, well, I don't exactly know what engine Chivalry is on, because I'm not that kind of, I don't get that into these games.
It's on one of the Unreal engines. I can't remember if it's 3 or 4, though.
It's not on 4. It doesn't look... It doesn't... the Unreal engines, they look real nice when they come out, but they don't age too well.
It's PS3 era, essentially.
Yeah, the game isn't bad, don't get me wrong, but, it's not anything special.
It's decent.
I feel like the graphics are a bit murky, but it doesn't really take away from anything. I guess there's more of a design decision that I did not appreciate.
That and budget. Because the game can sell from, like, how much is it? It usually sells for, like, $10, right?
Yeah, when it's on sale, it can get down to, like, 10.
Yeah, so it's a pretty cheap game. It isn't anything too expensive, so that explains why I didn't want to go full out on it. But that's literally the other aspects of the presentation would be how the characters look, specifically for character customization. And there's a very limited amount of customization you can do to your characters. You can control, like, what color red they're wearing. You can, and, like, what you can do? The symbols on their chest. But if you want to get, like, the really cool stuff, like the different masks and all these weird type of weapons, that's all DLC that you have to pay for.
But, it's all fair. It's not... Well, okay. I take it back. It used to be that that Chivalry wasn't pay to win, that you would just pay for basically what amounted to skins. But recently they've been making some DLC changes that I haven't appreciated too much. Like, this one's a bit older now, the barbarian invasion. But also the Elite Knight update that added stuff like the Butcher's Messer and the Crushing Mace, which are,
I'm pretty sure there's all just skins for the ordinary weapons.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because you can just go into Steam Work. You know what? You can Wikipedia that. I'll probably just jump into the next section then.
Alright.
Because other than that, the presentation, like, it's PS3 era, and it looks decent, and the lighting is actually pretty good. Other than that, it's a PvP arena-based game. No one goes into this thing like, oh man, I hope it's got the latest gen graphics, or... well, maybe you are. But the real thing that makes Chivalry stand out, though, however, is its combat. But I think, first of all, we're going to have to get in the game modes. So there's a couple of game modes. You've got the standard team-based deathmatch, which is essentially your team stabbing other teams and getting 60 kills. You've got Last Team Standing, which is, well, last team standing wins. You've got a free-for-all, which is first person to get to 60 kills. Everyone kills everyone. There's no teams. You can kill anyone and everyone. That's your goal. But then you've got Team Objective, and this is my favorite because it does the 3-stage objectives. So on one map, you could be pushing a cart, and then the next map you have to... if you do that, it will then go to the next stage. So instead of having, like, push the cart to the end of the map for 15 minutes and accomplishing, it will be 3 5-minute sections. So it's push the cart here, then it's break down the doors, and then it's push the cart again to the water supply and defend the cart as it's being pushed into the water, and the cart's filled with corpses to poison the water supply. Or it could be use catapults to get there, then break down the doors, and then kill the king and all his peasants. And sometimes a random player will be assigned the role of a king, and he has to survive, and if he does, then you win. and your goal is to kill that player.
Yeah, is it the king or the king's nephew? Because I know that, like I said earlier, that's part of the whole lore of the whole thing, is that I believe it was the Agatha Knights that brought in the king's nephew to join their crusade.
Yeah, no, I think most of the time it's just something along the lines of just kill the nephew, but he's not a player. It's just literally a random NPC, and they just kind of run around and do their own thing. They're basically peasants.
Basically, he sits there and he whimpers.
But it's fun to just run up with like your broadsword and then just decapitate a bunch of peasants while shouting "Agatha!" like you got like a bunch of marbles down your throat.
Oh no!
It's Batman,
It's
but medieval.
Yeah, I was about to say it's medieval Batman.
Alright, now I'm playing the game and there's this one guy and he keeps parrying everyone with a dagger. Oh man, I'm dying.
So that brings us to the combat, doesn't it?
Well, there's also the maps, which, what do you think of the map design overall?
Map design overall, I think is pretty nice. They have, you know, the maps. From what I play, there are a lot of maps, but there's only a few of them that are actually like regularly played because they're the really good ones. But the really good ones are really good, and the others are they're kind of forgettable.
Like,
It's odd.
let me explain the map I'm playing on right now. It's like, so you never have to worry about, have you ever played a first-person shooter, and the minute you spawn, someone gets a headshot on you right away?
Oh yeah, all the time.
A lot of times you'll spawn on the upper level of a house, and then you just drop down, and then go down the street, and that's where the combat is. So you never have to worry about being spawn camped or killed, like just right off the bat being killed. Now sometimes someone will just sit in your base the minute you drop down, you'll be stabbed, but he'll probably get killed pretty quickly. Oh, well, I guess we can talk about this in the combat, which is the next segment. But overall, the map design is really well for the objectives base, and when it comes to just the overall free-for-all maps, there are these huge expanses that you can just hide in buildings from and not spawn kill, but like ambush people with either arrows or swords or daggers, throwing hatchets, all kinds of stuff. But that brings us to the next segment, which would be, and it's probably going to be the topic discussed most, combat.
See, this game has, what I want to say is, one of the most intricate systems of combat for a game of its kind. You know, for like the arena PvP game, it's the most intricate combat system I've played. Not the most intricate combat system I've played overall. Dark Souls still takes that cake. But yeah, for a PvP arena shooter, you have several different types of swing. I believe it's a total of 4.
Yeah, you can do one downward, you can do one left, one right, and a thrust, and you can also do a kick.
Oh yeah, so you get a bunch of different swings. You get the kick attack. You have parrying, which all it does is, you know, negate damage and move their weapon.
Essentially, it's blocking,
enough.
it's not really parrying.
Yeah, it's blocking both timing, really.
Yeah, a parry is like where you knock the sword away from them, leaving them exposed and open, so when you take the swing, you can kill them.
Yeah. Parrying, I find, has a bit of an issue with it, actually, in that a lot of the times that if you parry them, by the time you recover from your own parry, they are already ready to swing again. If they're using some of the quicker weapons, so if you're using like a short sword or a broadsword, or if you're using a dagger, I've actually had some of my best runs going as an archer and using the dagger. And when a big knight guy comes at me, if it's just the one, you can parry him. If he's using like the long swords, you can parry him and then attack before he's ready to attack again because he's really slow.
I literally just had that problem. The only way I was able to deal with him is if I thrusted forward, because the thrust is actually decently fast for a greatsword. Oh god, someone's coming!
Yeah, you have, the game itself is very, there's a lot of the different attacks, like you can block, you block and you actually have to pay attention to where you're putting your shield, because then you can make yourself weaker to left or right attacks. The thrust, you know, will go through certain guards, but it's easy to dodge, really.
And you have to block at the moment they swing, because if they're swinging down and you click the block button, your character will block up. But let's say you block and he's about to do up, but he cancels and then thrust forward, your block's not in the right position and he's gonna get the hit.
Oh, there's another thing that we forgot to mention: feigns. Feigns that you can initiate a swing. I believe hit Q, and it'll cancel the swing, giving you a chance to come back and attack again.
I'm pressing Q right now. Not really happening. I'll take your word for it.
I don't know off the bat. Off the top of my head, I don't know what the key is, but trust me, it's in there. I do it all the time.
To counter the dagger, however, your character starts with 3 weapons depending on what class you can go. Right now, I'm using a greatsword, which has it's very slow, but it's got a wide range and it's got great length to it. So I can kill enemies before they get to me. However, if I gotta use speed, I can bring out a short sword, which has speed but has decreased length. And of course, you usually get some kind of throwing weapon, like I have a Francesca. Well, it's kind of a Francesca. It's a throwing axe, essentially. You get 2 of them, you throw, it does big amounts of damage, especially if you get a headshot. A headshot can be an insta-kill.
As I imagine, taking an axe to the back of the head would do to a person, really.
Yeah, but there's also shields, and then there's crossbows and bows.
Yeah, archers get crossbows and bows. Men-at-arms get, one-handed swords and the shields. The vanguard usually gets like a pole arm or some large greatsword, and the knight can either have a combination of a tower shield and some one-handed weapon, or pole arms or great swords, and
he also get great hammers as well.
Yeah.
You can also get maces, but the thing is you have to unlock them, and there's... Okay, so if I go the greatsword route, I can get, like, just a traditional greatsword. I can then unlock the claymore after, like, 15 kills, and then after, like, 45 or something like that, I then get the Zweihander. And each of those have different ranging and speed, length, and damage, but overall they're great swords. So you never have to worry about, like, oh, this great sword actually plays like a straight sword, because that's retarded.
I've unlocked just about everything on the Vanguard except for a few of the pole arms at the ends,
Yeah,
because that's my favorite class, really.
Yeah, like, I'm currently playing Vanguard, because the 3 classes, Man-at-Arms has no armor, essentially. However, he can get a shield, and he's very fast and light.
And he gets the dodge ability.
Yeah, the Vanguard is a medium armor guy. However, he also gets really heavy weapons, but he cannot get a shield. However, the Knight can get huge amounts of armor, so they are a pain to deal with. But they are actually pretty slow.
Oh yeah,
they get tower shields.
They do a lot of damage, and/or the tower shield. They get the flail, which I found to be a funny weapon. It's funny because it's just really odd to deal with.
I find it funny because in real life they didn't use aside from paintings, like 1 or 2 people using a flail, people rarely ever used flails. Because when you fight in line battles and you have to swing the thing above your head, it's hard to do that and not whack your comrades.
Let's not start demanding realism from a PvP arena shooter.
Okay,
not even
shooting.
Shooter, oh my god.
We forgot to talk about the archer, which is an archer. It's got low armor, but you can get a crossbow or a bow. But there is one really cool thing about the archer. He gets a shield. So what he can do is he can literally just slam a shield in the ground and hide behind it like think of a riot shield, and it's really cool to use.
Yeah. I don't remember what they called the shield. I remember one thing that I actually found kind of interesting is that they actually managed to put in some variety to how the archer played. Versus the longbow, the short bow, the war bow, they're all just bows with different varieties of speed and distance on them. The crossbow, and then, the light crossbow, heavy crossbow, which just was just, again, speed versus distance versus damage. But they also had a few weapons that I thought were kind of funny, honestly. Like, they had, like, throwing javelins and a sling, which... It's actually pretty common, to my understanding. I'm not a huge history buff, but to my understanding, it's actually a pretty commonly used weapon, which I just found it kind of interesting that they included a sling. Because you think an archer in medieval times, the first thing you think of is a bit of cloth with a rock in it.
True, but if you got good with those things, it was super easy to use. Ammo was everywhere, and they did a lot of damage if you weren't wearing a helmet. They were commonly used, however, in the Middle East in the steppes environment. If I'm wrong in any of these history points, please correct me. But
Don't correct me, I'll cry.
I like the javelins though because for the Roman army at least, it was standard to get 2 pilum, which is essentially a type of javelin. Oh, someone just kicked me off a cliff! Holy crap! Oh man, I love this game. It's if you guys have ever played Mountain Blade, it's essentially that, but it's faster paced. Like the swings are faster, the movement's faster.
Yeah.
It does do one annoying thing, and this is a minor gripe. I got killed by Bernie Sanders. Huh. No free healthcare for me. One minor thing it does. It will switch you teams and not tell you.
Oh yeah, you'll be on Agatha winning, and then it'll randomly just switch you to Mason.
To balance it. So there is team balancing, that way it's not just like, everyone's Agatha, win! It will just automatically switch you if that happens.
Yeah. There is the TF2 system where it notifies everyone that someone at random is about to be switched. Which I think is a little more fair than that system where they'll just...
Maybe it does, but in the bottom window where it's very small, like it's at the bottom left, and I barely pay attention to that because chat is atrocious. We'll get on the community later. It is very hard to notice if it's there. Because I've never seen it. But anyway, there's something annoying about all your teammates standing around you, wondering why you're stabbing, not fighting back, and you realizing, oh crap, and then having to type in, sorry, I thought I was on the other side.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's a lot of friendly fire in that game.
Friendly fire is on the entire time, so you can stab your teammates. So that's why swinging at different angles is important. So if someone's to your left, you have to swing towards the right, otherwise you will hit him and die. And if you do enough team damage, you can be kicked, and it also increases your spawn time. So if I kill 2 of my teammates, I'll have a minute respawn time. But it's actually really hard to kill like your teammates sometimes, because it takes at least a couple of swings to kill someone, right? So if I kill 2 people, that means I did their entire health bar dropped. Like, that is a lot of damage. So it does punish people, because when I first got the game, there was like little punishment towards people that were team killing, yeah. And they just went around and killed everyone. And even then, that's still a problem with people just team killing, whether by accident or they're retards.
On accident.
In the meantime, let me switch the classes so I can go over. Like the man-at-arms, you can get throwing knives, but one of my favorites is an oil pot, that if you throw it, it explodes on fire. And when the early game was around, that was an insta-kill. Because it didn't, if you were on fire and you had full health, you would burn to death no matter what happened. It was just, you were done for. You would slowly burn to death.
The oil pot will explode with fire, as opposed to all those pots we know about that explode with water.
Yeah, so with the archer, you can actually choose what type of ammo type you get. Well, so you can get like pebbles for throwing with sling, or you can get bodkin arrows or broadhead arrows. Bodkin arrows were done for digging into flesh, and they were hard to pull out, while, if I believe so, broadhead arrows had a broader head specifically to punch through armor and then dig through it.
I think later on you may actually... No. I'm sorry. It's not later on. It's something that they were going to implement, but it never got put in. I think that certain NPCs can actually still spawn with them. There's fire arrows.
No, there's no fire arrows. Fire arrows.
No, they're not for players, but they were going to implement it. They never did because they couldn't. I don't know exactly why they didn't implement it. I believe it had something to do with that they did the same damage regardless of who you hit with it, so it was a little bit overpowered. So rather than introduce it, they just didn't bother.
Oh, I just remembered one other game mode we forgot. Horde mode.
Okay.
Do you remember
Horde mode? Yeah. Where it's a PvE where you and your whole team play against crypts. just legions of undead soldiers ranging from pun-wielding skeletons to weird ghost things and zombies.
I had a fun time with it because they're spawn a lot of them, so you have to team up. Like, you'll have to be around your comrades and make sure, because you'll get overrun if you don't. However, you also have to worry about team killing, and the more kills you get, the better weapons you get and better armor you can get. And there's still the 4 classes, but they take on different roles. And the puns are horrible. They are pretty painful. Like, if you're fighting skeletons, they'll just be like, I have a bone to pick with you!
I
Like,
think that's what killed me the most, was the puns.
basically, it's the He-Man villain. It is Skeletor.
Oh, fantastic. Our old pal.
Nah, 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 nah. It is that laugh. I'd like to. Do we have any quick stories we'd like to tell of fun moments we have in Chivalry combat? Because there are some genuine fun moments you can have in this game because of the combat.
I actually want to mention one of the workshop modes because it cuts it.
It has workshop
it's a
support.
story. Yeah, it does have the workshop support, and it includes certain game modes like laser swords and Black Knight mode. And
Black Knight
mode is my favorite because it makes it so that you can lose limbs and such without actually dying, meaning that you could lose both your legs, be just the torso and from the torso up, and still be fighting the war. And
You'll be bleeding out for like in 30 seconds, but
well, actually, you could lose a lot of your limbs and still not bleed out in Black Knight mode.
I think it's like 15 seconds without your head and you'll bleed out. So I've lost my head, and I'm just running around as a headless guy, and I got 3 kills, and I was running up to the 4th guy, and my guy just dropped. Because he didn't have a head.
Remember, I was playing Vanguard, so I was using a Claymore. I lost my right hand, meaning I only had my left hand, meaning I could only punch people.
I remember that.
So I would sneak up behind people and just start punching them in the back of the head repeatedly until they fell over. And people got mad at me. That community is not... They don't like to be punched in the back of the head.
Shh, we'll save the community for later. Anyway, I've got 2 stories to tell. This just happened right now, but it's a great moment. Is like someone will be charging at you, and then you get the perfect headshot with an arrow, and it's like, thump, and they're dead. But my favorite was, there was an archer, and he's all the way out the top of the building, so I just rode like this elevator-looking thing all the way to the top, and I didn't stab him, I just kicked him, and he just fell to his death. I love kicking people off cliffs. Like, there are a few things I love in video games. It's environmental kills, which means kicking people off cliffs, poisoning them, and then slowly poisoned to death, bleeding someone to death, and ragdoll physics. Oh, I love bad ragdoll physics. Unfortunately, this game just nails everyone to the ground when they die, but still. Except
your ragdoll physics, I swear to God.
I love ragdoll physics. It's so much fun. There's nothing more fun than when you just kill a guy and they just go launching in the air like are doing cartwheels down the sky.
I would say a good video game is better. Huh?
True, there's some games that, like... And I think we all know the games where they're literally just, hey guys, we're Bizarre Physics, play us.
Oh, gosh. What was that one that was floating around for a while? It was super popular?
Goat Sim.
Goat Sim, exactly. That's exactly what I had in mind.
I think now would be a good time to talk about the community, because this moment just happened, and it's pretty twatish. But anyway, would you like to kick off the discussion?
This community suffers from familial adenomatous polyposis, also known as colorectal ass cancer.
I think of it more as, instead of heart cancer, that is lol, it's more like lower toe cancer. It's still cancer, it's not bad, but it's still... Like, first off, there's no really community... Well, there might be, but it's very hard to find it, because rarely anyone talks to each other. And when you do, people will just tell you to shut up. Again, this is all personal stories, so perhaps the server you join in will be different. But personally, we've joined in servers where you try talking with people and no one speaks up, or someone will be like, "Ah, good, nice," or "Ah, man, I died," and someone will just be like, "Shut up, noob."
It's true. Every time I've played again, and I like to play free for all a lot because it gets very ganky and it's a fun time. But it can be kind of a mess to have every player able to talk to each other.
I feel as if my partner has suddenly dropped from the podcast.
No, I'm all right.
Oh, okay. I was like, do we have to re-record this now? Anyway, you were saying?
Oh no, that was it.
Oh, okay. There is one bit from the community that I generally always love when this happens. And it is you'll be fighting a guy, and you'll charge at him, and all of a sudden, he'll put his weapons away. And he'll raise his fists, because one fist is a strong uppercut, and the other one's just like a quick punch. And you put away your weapons, and it just becomes an all-out brawl. You're like punching people to death, and it's great. Because this game has gore physics. So, and the sound design, that's what we should have talked about. Sound design, man, is impressive. But anyway, the gore is like, you'll cut someone in the limb and their arm will fly out and they'll just start screaming and grabbing their arm and then they'll collapse dead. You can do decapitations. If you stab someone in the throat, they'll begin to gurgle. Like, it is brutal. But if you shoot someone in the head, oh my gosh, the special effects are going up. If you shoot someone in the head with an arrow or a punch, their head in their helmet will literally just explode.
I'm still convinced that if you have this game, very, very good headphones, and an Oculus Rift, that you might be able to give someone mild PTSD.
There's levels with lava in them. And, like, I literally just kicked someone into lava, and just to hear them scream and their, like, throat begin to slowly burn. Like, the sound design is horrific, brutal, and amazing how well it is done. Especially the swords. Like, when you pull out the saber, you can just hear it slink out of the thing. Yes, you can hear it. And every clink of the sword sounds like real metal. But, like, certain weapons that are made of wood sound like wood clashing. And, like, you can hear weapons bounce off armor and clash and cut through skin. Like, it is really well sound designed. Like, in my opinion, this game has some of the best sound design I've played in a video game.
Well, I've never focused too heavily on sound design when I'm playing a game. I like to play the game more for what it is, the aspects of the game that I like, I don't like. But I do agree that I think good sound design is when a good sound design is done well. When good sound design is done well, you hardly ever notice it, really.
The music, it's like, it's basically elevator music. It is just there for the background. There's nothing that stands out. There's nothing really particularly good about it. It's not like, oh, this music sucks, or it's not like, oh, this music's droning on, but it's like, this is music?
Yeah, like, it just kind of fills the space, doesn't distract you, but on the other hand, it gets rid of that awkward silence, between the fights. When you're walking to and fro, there isn't just silence.
Yeah.
Which is good.
We'll get back to the
that's the best way to do this, background sound.
Oh man, I forgot I was gonna say something really important. I can't remember. Yeah, I remember it. It's gonna be the conclusion. But back to the community. We're going on about it. Team killers, they are the worst.
Oh yeah, some people just take like some sort of pleasure out of it. Like a lot of the time, in my experience at least, of anecdotal evidence, but when someone's on the winning team and they get auto balanced to the losing team, just out of sheer frustration, they'll start killing their team members.
There's also ballistas that you can mount, and it's an insta-kill if you hit someone with them. And just being around the ballista when it crashes will kill them. And people will just mount the ballista and shoot everyone they see. Like, I just killed someone with a ballista, but a lot of times they'll just shoot indiscriminately, because mounting ballista is fun.
No, it can be pretty hard, because you can get the turn speed on it. It's not that quick. So someone can be coming at you from behind, even if you notice them, you still might not be able to get them. So Sometimes they just shoot without thinking about it.
There are foggy maps, so sometimes you'll just be like manning the ballista and you can't tell whether there's a friendly or not, so you'll fire at one guy and they'll be like, oh, there's 2 guys next to him, and all of them were friendly, it turns out. But that's one thing about the community, is that it has, because team killers are frequent and annoying, when you do it by accident, it's like people can be very vicious.
Yeah. Like, this is one of the few games I've ever had someone threaten to just spam report me.
Because of an accidental team kill. Because, again, it's just one of those games where it happens. And I personally like it. It's realistic, because that happened all the time in combat, where you accidentally stab someone. Do not pour hot oil on my friends. Yeah, there are castles, and when you defend them, they can just pour hot oil on top of people. That is a vicious sound effect. Of them screaming with scalding hot water. By the way, fun fact, a lot of times they wouldn't use oil because it was expensive, they would use water, or boiling sand so it can get stuck between the crevices of the armor and skin.
Oh yeah, me too. That's all the time.
Oh yeah, you can also knock people's helmets off.
That I remember.
Like, you'll shoot someone in the head with either an arrow, and their helmet will just bounce right off and they'll be stunned for a second, and then you just go and thrust your sword into their chest. It does do one thing that I find a bit odd, and you guys can correct me about this, but historically, I don't think 2-headed battle axes were actually ever a thing.
I wouldn't know again.
Because it's way too much weight to actually be used. I mean, they have been in historical pictures, but when it comes to actual findings, I don't think they've ever found, like, a 2-bitted huge battle axe. And even then, because I'm looking at one of the weapons, it's like a... it's small, but it's still like the, the general 2-bit battle axe. You know the throwing axes, how it's very small?
Yeah.
Those were your axes, because you needed something that was very light to swing at people and raise back up. Like a big, heavy battle axe would be almost impossible to pick back up, especially if it's 2-bit. That, and what's the benefit of the 2nd-bit?
I guess, like, from a layman's perspective, the benefit of it would be able to just swing horizontally and then swing horizontally in the other direction without having to, turn it around. And if you're in the middle of battle panicking, that might be a bit advantageous, but you'd have to be a pretty jacked dude to be able to just swing that around like that.
Yeah, I was about to say, but, yeah, I wouldn't know how to use battle axe in real life, because I've never seen one been used in real life. I have seen swords be used in videos in real life. I've never just been like, hey, let's get a battle axe and hit you, Jeff.
Yeah, don't hit me with a battle axe. I'm actually, fun fact, I'm allergic to pieces of metal above 10 pounds. Especially if they're coming at me at faster than 5 miles per hour.
I'm allergic to sharpened metal piercing my skin.
Oh, hey. That makes, like, 7.5 billion of us.
I was gonna say similar fetish, and I was like, no, fetish is not the right word choice here.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to ask you to go away.
Podcast is over. Clap your hands. We're going home.
Only wish. He keeps me in his basement. He won't let me go.
Anyway, so let's jump down to conclusions. The most important thing this game needs, since it's a combat arena game, is it needs to have good game feel, and it needs to have good fun. Like, it needs to be fun, and the game needs to feel well. And I think it accomplishes that, with both its sound design, its graphics being realistic and pretty well done, and the gore, which is realistic and actually relevant, as well as the scenarios being quite interesting, such as burning down all of wheat fields, which is something you would do to enemy castles, polluting their water supply by dumping bodies, sieging castles, all really interesting setups, but just the raw combat itself is very fun and well polished. The occasional hitbox can be glitched, and with lag, it's very hard to hit enemies if you have latency issues, but you can kick players for having really bad latency issues, fixing the problem. However, it does have a horrendous community.
Yeah, basically the same, except I'd say my only complaint with it really is that at times the movement can be a bit sluggish. It has to deal a lot with the stamina that you have. You have 2 bars, the health bar and stamina bar, which oddly you gain both back by crouching and not moving.
Yeah, that's one thing. Your health regens, Not realistic at all, by the
Well,
way.
I mean,
if you have a giant gash down your chest and your spleen is missing, it's not just going to magically reappear because it's sitting in the corner. Then again, no revelation to any of you viewers, unless you're mentally unstable or retarded.
There's no such thing as a realistic healing system in any video game. There's nothing in the world that I can put in a wound that will instantly close the wound. It'll never be realistic, so I don't ask for realism from a healing system. The thing I do ask is that when you're out of stamina, that the game may not make you move like a turtle.
True.
You walk so slow, you turn oddly. It's very dependent on your frame rate, which at times can take dips in this game depending on what's on screen. Like the fire effects tend to drop my frame rate quite a bit, and that changes a lot about how the game moves and such. So maybe this is just a me problem, but I feel at times the game can feel very sluggish.
This is a huge point in its favor. After you kill a guy, you can just sit there and just cut off his limbs before the body despawns.
Huge point in its favor: dismemberment of corpses.
There is one thing that I feel could really benefit this. Better customization that gets unlocked as you progress through the game. Once I find that weapon and I really like and I get the third variant of it, I feel like there's nothing really to unlock left aside from just playing the game.
You know what I feel would benefit this game?
What?
Not having it so that people who pay money can make their characters' colors other than red and blue.
Sometimes
Because
the blue...
Yeah,
Anyway,
because if I see a green guy running straight at me, I don't know whether to stab him or not.
That annoys the crap. Okay, so your team colors are blue and red. But of course there's... black is red, because it's black and red, but most of the colors are black, but some people are whitish. And then Agatha, which are the blue guys, can also be white. So you'll see people with these black symbols, huge, but they're wearing a white talibard. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, hey, it's a friendly, and I'll turn around, and my head's gone. I'm gonna assume that wasn't the wind. Safe assumption, I'm gonna assume the wind did not knock off my head.
Yeah, there is legitimately a way to get green armor in that game, and that just completely throws me off. And I
don't even remember what team
literally
gets
no
that.
idea. Yeah, exactly.
I know for a fact you can get that in free-for-all mode, but, oh man. Overall, I feel like if you like medieval games, and you really enjoy skill-based kind of hack and slash, because I wouldn't call it hack and slash, because all the attacks are skill-based, this would be fun. And if you're looking for a good community, try looking for forums, and try looking at the Steam page. Try not making friends, though, just in the game itself. That does not usually end well.
Oh yeah. Be selective about the servers you join. You could actually have a very good experience depending on where you go.
Yeah. There's also, like, multiple server types. Like, there's the modded ones. And I haven't really experimented too much aside from the Black Knight one, which is... I do enjoy that one. There's something because, like, I'll spawn and I'll just turn around, cut off my friend's arm, and I'll just sprint the other direction. And it'll be like, Rex, you twat! And I'm like, ah, joke's on you, you don't have arms! And then he'll respawn and kill me. But the best is when you cut off their head and then they're chasing you down and you're just like, you just gotta sprint out of range until they die.
Yeah, I like playing Chivalry with lightsabers. It doesn't change that much. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do, and you can also mod different weapons into the game. It's the same weapon, but the skin is different. That's why I think the DLC weapons. I haven't bought any of the DLC weapons, and I haven't really seen anyone with DLC weapons, to be honest. I've seen people with
I was under the impression that it was they were whole new weapons, because every time I saw someone who had the DLC weapons, they would just be murdering everyone. But I guess that's a confirmation, isn't it? A confirmation bias.
True.
It's just the reason that they have the DLC is because they're good at the game. And so people think that they're good at the game because they have the DLC.
But I've seen people with DLC weapons and just been absolutely dribble. The game is... Sorry about that. There was a... For some reason, I turned the sound off to none, so I can record fine. Sound effects for fire are still there for some reason. I don't understand. So in the recording, there's now a large explosion. But, where was I going?
Where were you going? That's an interesting question.
I feel like I ask that question in life way too often. Like, I think I'll be like, hey, I'm in the bathroom, I need to put on pants, and I'll walk out just wearing toilet paper around my legs. I don't know what I was doing that day.
Drugs.
No. No. I wish.
Well,
Oh,
everyone,
yeah.
this has been our review of Chivalry Medieval Warfare. If you have any suggestions or comments, or if you agree or disagree with anything that we have said throughout the course of this video, feel free to leave a comment, and maybe we can have a nice discussion, or maybe you can yell at us on the internet.
And if you have a game you'd like to see us record and or play, leave a comment down below.
Bye, guys.
Later.